there were no videos about this machine for tree guys. I looked and looked for a tree company that said we have an MT100, and I don't see any out there. So this video is for you guys that you're trying to find information about this machine. What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be showing you my new MT100. Alright, so I will share a couple observations of this machine before I do the work with it that I'm going to do today. And this is pretty much what Bobcat had to offer in terms of a grapple for this machine. Now, it does come with common industry interface or Bobcat, and I chose Bobcat because I knew that Bobcat was going to be coming out with more implements than anybody else. They're just the deepest in as far as skid steers go, and this is almost experimental for them because they already had skid steers that fit through a 36-inch gate. Okay, so what I have is the narrow track. The wide track takes it to like 44-inch, and there's a spacer that goes with it with the track if you want to make it the wide track, but it is convertible. I got the narrow track because I want to be able to fit in people's backyards, and so it's actually 35 and change in width, in total width. So I got an implement that fits through that same space, even though of course I can raise it up. But I took this thing out yesterday and it is unbelievably powerful. The grapple is a game changer. So basically it's the ultimate in simplicity. Everything is straight hydraulic, so these have straight shafts that go down. You can wobble the bucket and just shake it like crazy if there's dirt stuck in it and stuff. Very simple layout here. There's spaces for electrical controls there. All these dials. I love the fact there's no digital on this machine. All the competitors have a digital display or some sort of digital readouts. This thing is, as best I can tell, is as strictly mechanical as you can get with a skid steer. These handles are very stout. This is basically what you're supporting your weight on and holding yourself with as you're doing the controls. This step right here has a nice bounce to it. It's supposed to. This is the auxiliary lock, so when you're running, like, say, stump grinder maybe, you want your auxiliary, you want that to be turning all the time, and you hold that pedal down, and that, because it's not on, it won't do it, but that thing will lock in place, and then when you take your foot off that pedal, that goes back. So that gives you the ability to grab something with this grapple, and it's putting down grapple force and grabbing it with strength, because a lot of times you'll grab something and then it'll release. So if you use that auxiliary step, basically what you're doing is you're telling it to keep pushing, and then you'll hear the relief valve going. So my friend came over the other day and told me that I need to make sure this was all very clean. This was chock full of mud. All this space right here was all full of mud. That thing right there, that triangle, is a spacer, and there's two of them there, and they can be moved to back here. So Bobcat recommends for digging applications and normal applications, you would use that there, and then to increase your down pressure in the front, and then when you want to lift heavier weights, you move it back there. So I haven't found anything that I couldn't lift with this, so I like to keep the machine more balanced if I can, and so I probably will not move those for a while. So I'll just show you the basics inside. I know you guys just want to see the machine being driven, but fuel up right there. Air filter's got an indicator for when it's bad. There's those two blue things are the hydraulic pumps. This white box is the coolant, and there's your Kubota. Proud to be a Kubota engine in there. They're in everything now. 24 point something horsepower, and then everything's guarded on this. Like, you see that there's like a protector over the top of this cylinder here. The grapple comes with a protector on it. These hoses route through that little loop right there, so you have to make sure you feed them through, because those stay with the Bobcat, or the hoses stay with the grapple, and when you drive away, you'll rip them off. So you got to pull them back through that when you take it off. But the system works very well. These are maintenance ports. All these doors on the side give you access to the motor. This is the manual. I keep that in there, and your sight glass for hydraulic. everything's pretty well accessible in this machine, whether from the top or the bottom. So there's that. Okay. Couple things you got to make sure of on this machine. I read the whole manual on it, and you know, I'm fairly new to skid steers, and particularly a track machine is something I wouldn't be familiar with. But you cannot back down into a slope or off a curb or anything, because this thing will tip. I mean, it will catch itself, but the danger is that you'll either get thrown off or you'll get thrown and it'll roll on you. So going backwards down is always where there's a dip or anything. Obviously going backwards, you just don't want this thing on top of you. It weighs about 3,200 pounds. The other thing that you have to watch out for is, especially when there's a stump in the ground, when your front roller or guide just hits a stump, it is the most jarring experience. It's like having a car accident, like in an old car where everything's made of metal. It doesn't give, there's no forgiveness. If you drive over a stump, it's just like bam, right to your brain. You can feel it, it's like you've been punched in the head. So be careful of stumps. As you can see, the machine is able to lift this decent sized log. This is not a heavy wood, but it's a pretty good sized hunk of wood. I will say that in terms of stability, you couldn't really have a faster top speed and feel good about it. If you're driving on like a nice flat lawn all the time, then you could probably go for another 2 miles per hour or something like that. This goes 4.1 forwards and like 2.3 backwards or something. It's quite slow going backwards, but I will say this, if you were going faster, you could definitely get hurt. I think Bobcat was thoughtful in giving you a speed that was not too fast. The goal of this is not to tear up people's yards. Those machines with the high top speeds, I never get exercise to that, except for in a wide open field, and frankly, you're using the wrong tool if you're driving long distances with this machine. I had to drive around my property because the yard is there and I don't want to drive in the yard, but we're going to cut up some of these pieces off of this. I can already see that my tree service is going to be helped a lot by this, and in case guys didn't know about this, because it's so new, Bobcat just came out with a log grapple. This is a root grapple, which is more useful than a log grapple, but the log grapple is able to carry something. It's dedicated to carrying things in any position, basically. So you could pick up the end of a log and drag it, or you could pick up a huge bundle of brush, versus this, when it closes, you're going to lose, if you're grabbing a bunch of butt ends together, you're going to lose a couple of them on the drive. And so it's ideal to carry stuff sideways, obviously, on this unit. that was an incredibly good lifter. It picks up stuff very well, and picked up those long pieces from the end with no problem. I will show you over here in the yard. I let a friend of mine who's not particularly familiar with machinery drive through this area, and you can see where he took a corner. Now bear in mind it's been raining for 2 days, and so there's a scuff in the yard, so this is something to be aware of. But you can see where it drove straight. I mean, I can put my foot where the track was, but it's kind of hard to see. We drove all the way across through here with no mark. And then only when he came over to here and took a sharp turn did he make a scuff. The machine is able to drive through a grassy yard without impacting it, and you can steer. So an important feature of this is that when you're using this, it's in ISO controls, is what my friend told me. But when you're using this joystick to drive and you want to go backwards, it reverses which track you're controlling. So if you're on the right side and you're going forwards, it's putting more hydraulic to the left track. That's how you steer to the right. But when you want to steer going backwards, it's opposite. So you go left to go right. Because basically what you're doing is you're saying, I want to put hydraulic power more to this track. That's essentially what that does. So for the reverse, it's reverse, but that gives you the ability to go to the right and then just go forward, backward, and that's how you turn around. So I was very happy with the machine, how it performs on my property. Obviously it's not a full-size Bobcat or skid steer, but for its intended purpose, which is working in small enclosed areas and doing the work of several men, reducing the labor load, easing the physical strain of the job, I couldn't be more happy. I think, probably most guys who have mini skids like that are very happy with them. Obviously, there's a lot of money to pay out for a machine that could do this when, I guess in theory I could have gotten one used. But I will say, these are very hard to find used. Most of the ones that you see for sale are older and smaller models with, they're a little beat up, they got old technology in them. I just wanted something that was going to be reliable, that had local service. I had a great Bobcat dealer, 2 good Bobcat dealers right near me versus, for example, Vermeer, which they're much farther away and they're a lot closer to Chicago. And so I had to weigh my decision. I just couldn't commend it more for what I've used it for so far. I haven't used it in many lawns, and I will say it shreds the yard when it's wet. I mean, you do not want to steer this thing on a wet lawn. Do not turn a corner if the yard is wet. And I suppose it's probably the rule with track machines to have a spot to turn around on, because the ground pressure is low, but when you scrub, you're just putting, a lot of force, a lot of twisting and rotating force and stuff like that onto the ground. So, this thing is just changing my life. I can feel it coming, and as long as my life continues on, I think this thing is going to be awesome. So, good luck out there selecting your Bobcat / skid steers. I hope you benefit from this video, and I'll be sure to have more of the machine showing up in different videos. Alright, good luck out there.